Hi everyone, we'll be waiting 2 to 3 minutes before starting the webinar to accommodate for the rest of the attendees who are in the middle of connecting. And while we're waiting, we would love to find out where you're joining from, and I will share some polling here quickly, and we'll share the link to that as well. So if you go to the link I posted here to the right, to your right, paulev.com/security webinar, that should take you. There you go. We're getting some responses. And I'm going to leave this for a minute or two. We also have. That's pretty good. Got folks all over the place. And then we would like to see what best describes it to our relationship with the Microsoft. This will also help our presenters in today's call engage or tailor their presentation to based on the attendance. Seems like there's a fight between partners and customers. Okay. Well, thank you very much for providing your feedback, and I will go ahead and close this. And Julian, if you don't mind sharing again, we can share that first screen. That would be great. Perfect, thank you. Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us and thanks for being part of our community. My name is Valon Kulika and I will be your host for today. A few reminders before starting the webinar. If you have issues viewing the stream at any time during the presentation and are using the web browser version of Teams, please refresh your browser. If you're using the desktop app of Teams, please exit and rejoin. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be shared publicly. We will post the recordings in our community at aka.ms/security-webinars. I will share these links that I'm about to call out here shortly on the Q&A window. And during this time, please feel free to ask questions at any time by typing them in the live event Q&A window by clicking on the Ask a Question button. Now, be aware that any questions you post will be publicly visible. However, if you prefer, you can post your question anonymously by checking the box right below where you enter it. We often get many questions on these webinars, and we will do our best to respond to all of them in real time. However, in the event, if the answer was not provided, or if you may have additional questions post this event, please don't hesitate to raise them on our Azure Sentinel forum that is at aka.ms/Azure Sentinel community. And if you're listening to this after the fact, so that's also a great place to ask a question. We love to hear your feedback on how we can improve these webinars, and you can do so at aka.ms/security webinar feedback. While you're there, please join our community by visiting aka.ms/security community. And this is the best way to ensure you don't miss any future webinars or major announcements. In our community, you can speak directly to our engineering teams that create our security products, and you'll be able to influence your product designs, as well as get early access to changes by doing things like participating in private previews, which you can sign up for at aka.ms/security private preview. And while you're there, you can request features, give feedback, review our product roadmaps, attend in-person events, or join webinars like this. We believe that the best way to improve our product is by removing any barriers between you and the people that create them. So we hope you'll join us. In today's session, Julian and Christopher will take us through threat hunting, and show us how we can reduce dwell times using Azure Sentinel. Julian Gonzalez is a principal program manager, and Christopher Romeo Munoz is a program manager, both from our Azure Sentinel engineering team. And without further ado, I will turn it over to them. Julian, Christopher, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone. So go here. So Christopher and I will present on threat hunting, reducing dwell times. We'll also be diving into some of the new features that we've recently released. So I'll start first, and then I'll hand it off to Christopher. So the agenda today, we'll just do a little brief kind of overview of threat hunting. And then Christopher will dive into the UI enhancements and do a demo, and then I'll wrap it up with a demo of the notebooks experience and trying to help folks get comfortable with that experience. So why threat hunting? I love these icebergs. The reason why you want threat hunting is your traditional focus on events. That's all the things, the known knowns, everything that kind of sits on top that you can see. But you know, we're in this business, and we know that there's a lot of events that occur as a result of activity that happen that you cannot see, because these are just the known unknowns. A lot of different events. The good news is, though, that it's very hard to infiltrate an organization or infrastructure and not leave behind some kind of tracks, right? Just because if you're going to get into a system, you're going to need to leverage that access to do either you know, financial gain, such as ransomware, or you're going to need to get access to exfiltrate, those kind of things. So you'll always, for the most part, leave some type of track or some type of artifacts left over, and that's what we focus on when we talk about threat hunting, is looking at all that data that's, you know, the logs, everything, all those artifacts that you leave, and focus on being able to find that. So it's not like investigation where you already have an alert or something and you kind of go off that. This is more looking through the logs, being able to query large data sets and seeing what you can find there. So these are some of the examples of those records. And of course, anomalies, using threat indicators is a big part of that. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris and then let him take it from here.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Julian. Truly appreciate it. As Julian mentioned throughout this session, we want to take you on a road on how you can start leveraging the Azure Sentinel hunting capabilities. I think all of us are well aware of the tenacious times that we're living in, and we are cognizant that in order for us to stay on top or stay up to date when it comes to the different tactics and behaviors that bad actors have, we must ignite a proactive threat hunting approach. Now, with that said, before we dive into how do we get started with the Azure Sentinel hunting capabilities, I first want to talk about the recent user interface and enhancements that have been added to Azure Sentinel to enrich the analyst experience. Now, the scope behind these enhancements is to empower your threat hunters to maneuver efficiently and to also make use of the existing capabilities. Just to name a few here, we added the guided tour, guides and feedback, prescriptive guidance at the data collection level, column chooser, persistent settings, and also cross workspace hunting. So with that said, what is the guided tour? Now, the guided tour is an enhancement that was designed for first-time users, right? So whenever a first-time user goes into the hunting tab within Azure Sentinel, they have the ability to go through a guided tour window that provides them knowledge transfer on the new improvements added to the hunting capabilities. Now, the great thing about this is that we will continue to expand that information within the guided tours to provide you guidelines and also to orient you on how to initiate your proactive threat hunting journey. Without further more, let's go ahead and dive into the Azure Sentinel portal to show you how the experience looks like and how that experience will look for a first-time user of the Azure Sentinel hunting capabilities. 1 second. So this right here is the Azure Sentinel portal. Sorry, the Azure portal. This is right now the first time use. So I've restored all of my default settings. If I go into Azure Sentinel, and I choose my respective workspace, I then have the ability to see all my tabs. Now, hunting is located under threat management. So when I click on hunting, automatically I am presented this guided tour, right? This guided tour allows me to understand any new features, any enhancements, any recommendations that I should take into account to better the experience when it comes to my threat hunting across this platform. As you can see here, this shows me that there's a new column chooser that allows me to personalize the grid by selecting relevant columns and their order, right? By clicking next, this goes ahead and also maneuvers to another pane or another area within the Azure Sentinel hunting platform that may be new as well. Now, at the moment, this is just a grid that shows you the latest updates or the latest enhancements when it comes to the Azure Sentinel hunting tab. But going forward, we will be focusing, or we will be investing our efforts when it comes to providing you recommendations on how to make use and how to leverage these out-of-the-box hunting capabilities to empower your threat hunters to do more. All right, so that is a quick, short guided tour demo of what that will look like for a first-time user. The next enhancement that we have, let me quickly maneuver back to my PowerPoint. Is the guides and feedback. So part of guides and feedback, what we're doing here is, again, we are trying to orient, we are trying to provide prescriptive guidance on how you can maximize the use of the threat hunting capabilities. So we've added a guides and feedback panel to both the Livestream and also the notebook experience. What this does is that this provides rich information, technical functionality of the capabilities, a place where users can find new releases and updates about the feature. Now, additionally, we've also added useful links to best practices, tutorials, and also links to blogs. This allows you to understand the recommended practices from the engineering side of the house on what we think is the way to go or the path to explore when it comes to consuming and adopting these different features. Now, for the guides and feedback panel, this also allows you the opportunity to share your ideas and experience with our core engineering team. This is a way where you can vote or add your ideas on the Azure Sentinel user voice platform. Now, the next step when it comes to this feature or this enhancement is to also add this to other features across Azure Sentinel to orient and provide recommended practice as well as useful links and also documentation. So a quick demo just to show you how this looks like and where you would find this. Let me go ahead and switch my demo back to the Azure Sentinel portal. So within the Azure Sentinel portal, once you navigate into Livestream, up right in the middle of the screen, you will find the Guides and Feedback button. Now, part of the Guides and Feedback button, a new pane opens up. Now, this new pane shows you what is Livestream, how does it work. It shows you the functionality of that feature. It also shows you the what's new, right? So we just added a column chooser within the Livestream grid that can allow your SOC analysts to enrich and be flexible when it comes to their grid and also any useful links. Now, these useful links do navigate to the public documentation, webinars, and also our public tech community platform where we host all of our blogs that detail very specific use cases. At the bottom, we show you a way where you can share your ideas. So if you have any custom use cases or any advanced use cases, or if you're looking to submit a feature request, you can also vote or add your idea within the Azure Sentinel user voice. All right. I can also specify whether or not I am satisfied or dissatisfied with the experience and provide a description on what the engineering team can do to better or satisfy that specific use case. Alongside of that, we've also added additional enhancements, including the ability to have prescriptive guidance at the data collection level. Now, as we all know, data is the foundation for all of your efforts in Azure Sentinel. Data is the oxygen to Azure Sentinel. So revisiting data collection conversations from time to time will ensure that you have the necessary data to satisfy your use cases in Azure Sentinel. This will prep you up for success when it comes to mitigating and satisfying those custom use cases that you have across your environment, right? So whenever you add a new hunting query in Azure Sentinel, if you don't have that specific data source within the query wizard, it will provide you more information on whether or not or what you can do to make sure that you ingest that necessary data source to your environment. The next enhancement is the columns chooser. The columns chooser is basically the columns button. This is a way that we are enabling users or your SOC analysts to personalize the grid by selecting the relevant columns in their order. Now, this enables your SOC analysts to have deep flexibility when it comes to the control over the grid view. So let me go ahead and maneuver back to the Azure Sentinel portal to show you what this looks like. So back when I go into queries, as you can see, part of queries, we do have out-of-the-box hunting queries. I will go into more depth in just a second when it comes to these out-of-the-box capabilities. Now, as you can see here, we have different columns. So query, provider, data source, results, and tactics, right? As a SOC analyst, I want to have the ability to have flexibility when it comes to my grid view. So for that reason, we added the column chooser. Once you add the columns chooser, this opens up a new pane. This lists out all the columns that are available and provides you the ability to drag the columns as desired, right? So this allows you to reorder them on how you would like them to appear within your hunting blade. So for example, let's say entities is a critical part when it comes to threat hunting. I want to understand all the entities that are part of this use case. I can go ahead and drag that and make that first, right? Now, when I apply that, it is going to go ahead and show the entities on the left-hand side, right? So the same can be done across all the different columns. Now, another pretty cool feature that we added is called the persistent settings, right? So within my user profile, I just made this change. If I were to get out of the hunting blade and go into workbooks, if I come back into hunting, it keeps my settings, right? It does not delete my settings. This allows a better and a richer experience within Azure Sentinel. Now, the last enhancement that we've added is a very huge one, especially for those customers that have multiple use cases, multiple workspaces. So we do know that there are various use cases on why you may have multiple workspaces. Now, back in May, we introduced the multiple workspace incident view. This allows you to have a single pane or a single queue of incidents across multiple workspaces. Now, we do know that cross-workspace hunting was a necessary feature. So to help alleviate the challenge and expand the support of managing multiple workspaces, we are delighted to announce that the cross-workspace hunting is now available. What this does is that it empowers your threat hunters to query, correlate, and ask the right questions across multiple queries. So with that being said, let's dive into a quick demo to show you what are the operators or what are the KQL parameters that allow you to have this functionality within the threat hunting tab. So I'm going to dive into this other instance here to show you how we are able to query multiple workspaces. Here, I'm currently in the cybersecurity SOC workspace. As you can see here from this query, I am monitoring the sign-in logs. But by using the union workspace operator, I am able to monitor another workspace, right? So my other workspace that I have here is called Partner Sentinel Demo, right? So if I want to better understand the sign-in activities and the sign-in events across these different workspaces, I would use the union workspace with the workspace name or the workspace ID and be able to have the ability to monitor or visibility across these different workspaces. As you can see here, this is my workspace ID, and this is the other workspace ID, right? So this works, right? So this is a way that I can do cross querying. Now you're probably asking, how does this work within hunting? Now, when I dive into hunting, what I can do is that I can modify a existing hunting query. So one that I really like is the password reset. So multiple password resets by user. I can clone the query. This is the way that I can modify the query or modify the query to meet a specific use case within my environment. Here, I'm able to understand the description, which allows me to have a more comprehensive understanding of what use case is being satisfied here. As I scroll down under custom query, I am also able to understand the tables and the logic that is being monitored here. Here under security event, I can type in union workspace. And then I can type in my workspace name. But that is all that is needed to be able to have the ability to monitor across multiple workspaces. Now, something to note is that within the hunting queries that we have, they do monitor over various log analytics tables. So up in the description that in the demo that I just showed, we were overlooking the security event table. As you scroll down, we are also overlooking the audit logs. So I would have to perform the same action across those different tables to be able to have that visibility across multiple workspaces, right? So that is one way that we are supporting the ability to do cross workspace hunting across Azure Sentinel. So that right there is all the enhancements that we've added from a user interface perspective that can allow your threat hunters to do more. Now, the question is, how do I get started with hunting? How do I ignite that proactive threat hunting approach? Now, we all know that most enterprises, they focus on reactive efforts. They focus on being able to have the right or rich alert quality across their environment to be able to detect various use cases across the cybersecurity attack code chain. Now, we all know that although our security tools are getting better at being able to detect these different tactics that are being executed by bad actors are also finding ways to avoid or evade detection, right? Cybersecurity can seem like a whack-a-mole game, which is why having a proactive threat hunting approach is intrinsic within this cybersecurity landscape. So if you're a investigator who wants to be proactive about looking for security threats, Azure Sentinel does that. Azure Sentinel provides you out-of-the-box hunting queries that correlate to various MITRE attack tactics, and that also cover various data sources. This platform here allows you to ask the right questions when it comes to various use cases across your environment. Now, at the moment, we do provide roughly 90 out-of-the-box hunting queries that can allow you to start monitoring and also identifying any sign of intrusion or any sign of compromise across your environment. We are also mapping back to the MITRE attack tactic. By using the MITRE attack tactic, you do have the ability to look at the different use cases or the different behaviors within your environment that do map to the framework. This allows you to filter using the MITRE attack tactic, which provides you the visibility you need to take further action. Now, this right here is just a quick way to filter, but another way is to also filter using the UI pills. Part of the UI pills here, we have favorites, provider, data sources, and tactics. So part of tactics, I can look, for example, at impact, initial access, command and control, whichever I want to focus on, and that will go ahead and filter out and list all the out-of-the-box hunting queries for that MITRE attack tactic. I can also perform the same concept for data sources and also provider as well. Next is the ability to search an entire query content. So part of the out-of-the-box hunting queries, you do have the ability to search for a specific query. You also have the ability to add it to a favorite. Now, in my opinion, this is one of the quick wins that we have within the out-of-the-box hunting query, and that is the ability where you can add it as a favorite. Now, every single time that you land within the hunting pane, it will automatically run that query. This allows threat hunters to efficiently work and also reduce dwell time and also improve their time of detection when it comes to these suspicious activities. Next is the ability to also run our queries, which I will show in just a second. And that is another hero use case that we have within the hunting blade. And that is where you are able to run other queries. So imagine being a threat hunter coming in every single morning, trying to have a better understanding on the risk that the environment is facing. By running all the queries, you will have the ability to understand all the hits or all the anomalies or suspicious activities that may have gone undetected. And then lastly is the ability to clone and save these built-in queries to modify them, right? So we do provide you this baseline that can help you get started, but you do have the ability to modify them and clone them to your specific use cases. Now, if you do see that one of your hunting queries is getting a lot of hits, you may want to elevate that hunting query into a detection analytic rule, or you may even want to create a live stream, which I will show in just a couple of seconds. Now, once you run these out-of-the-box hunting queries, you do have the ability to view the results within the log analytics platform. Log analytics is the underlying component of Azure Sentinel, meaning that anything that we process or we query can be queried at the log analytics level. As you can see here, I just ran a quick query, which provides me the results, and from there I can take further action. Livestream is also another pretty cool feature, and that is where you do have the ability to create an interactive session when on behalf of the user. What this does is that this allows you to run or stay on top of a activity. So for example, if within my query and I find something suspicious, I want to stay on top of it, I can add it into the live stream. And what this does is that it will run the query every 30 seconds. This will also notify you if you have any hits or if you have any matches when it comes to that suspicious activity, right? So this is a way that your threat hunters can stay on top and can also create analytic rules based on their findings. And then lastly, before I dive into the demo, is bookmarks. So bookmarks is also another pretty cool feature. And that is where, as a threat hunter, I'm able to annotate, I'm able to share any evidence or any notables that I may find throughout my investigation or hunting experience. This allows you to record any contextual observations, and reference your finding by adding notes and also adding tags. The great thing about bookmarks is that these bookmarks are visible by you and also your SOC teammates for easy collaboration. Now, the great thing about this is that if this is a notable or a evidence that you found, you can also add that bookmark to a existing evidence. So how do we put this into play, right? How do we get going with the Azure Sentinel out-of-the-box hunting query? Now, the whole scope of this session, as I mentioned, is to provide you an update and also help you get started. So for that reason, Julian and we created an environment with a specific use case. So here we have two entities, Julian Go, and we also have Victim PC1. As you can see here, Julian Go is a domain admin. Victim PC is a targeted system. So the first step that occurred was that on behalf of Julian Go's entity, the bad actor was able to execute a brute force attack. After that, the bad actor was able to escalate privileges by adding the guest user to the admin group, right? This is a common way that bad actors try to escalate users or try to execute persistence across an environment. The third step is where the bad actor was able to use PowerShell to download Mimicuts and dump the credentials, which is another way of credential theft techniques or moving laterally across an environment. And step number 4 is where the bad actor was able to run encoded commands to download and drop a payload. Now, lastly, the bad actor was able to run the payload, which from there is pretty much over, right? So this is the attack scenario that we're going to focus on for the rest of this webinar, to show you how we can utilize the out-of-the-box Azure Sentinel hunting capabilities to detect these behaviors, right? Some behaviors that may have gone undetected by your first line of security solutions. So with that said, let's go ahead and hunt. So let me quickly maneuver back into my Azure Sentinel portal so that I can further show how we are able to get going with these out-of-the-box hunting queries. So as soon as I click on hunting, as you know, I do have the out-of-the-box hunting queries. These out-of-the-box hunting queries do map to the MITRE ATT&CK tactics. As I mentioned earlier, you do have the ability to map or filter by MITRE ATT&CK. I can do it via the MITRE ATT&CK dashboard here, or I can do it via one of the pills. Now, if I go back out and I go back in, as you can see, I do have a set of out-of-the-box hunting queries that are already favored, right? So I can go to favorites. Let's see here, and I can filter by favorites. 1 second, sorry. Okay, let me refresh 1 second. There we go. Yeah, so here I have my out-of-the-box hunting queries that I have favorited. Now, since we are covering a scenario where the first step was a brute force attack, we are leveraging a out-of-the-box hunting query that monitors over a high number of unsuccessful logins. Now, we did modify this hunting query to our liking, and our recommendation is to modify the queries to any specific use cases across your environment. So when I run this query, and then I view results, it takes me to log analytics where I can better understand what occurred. I can go ahead and look back, so the last 48 hours. When I click on the last 48 hours, it provides me the results here. Here, I am able to see the host custom entity, the IP, and also the failed attempts. As you can see here, there has been a high number of unsuccessful logins, but something looks suspicious here. What looks suspicious is that Victim PC1, within this event, there were 4 successful attempts out of 2,545 failed attempts. As a threat hunter, this seems suspicious, right? So what is the next step that we can take within the Azure Sentinel portal to share, annotate, and also mark this as a suspicious activity? As soon as I select this event, the add bookmark button is enabled. When I click on Add Bookmark, this opens up a pane. This is where a SOC analyst or a tier 3 analyst is able to save, tag, annotate, share any results from their investigation or hunting efforts. Here I can specify a name. I can also map this event to any entities across my environment. I strongly suggest customers to map entities to both their analytics and also to their bookmarks, because this will ignite a richer investigation experience, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click create. So once I create that new bookmark, I can then go ahead and consume that. I can go ahead and share that across my security operations center. Now, something that I do want to show is that we do have a hunting bookmark table. So at the log analytics level, I can also query for that hunting bookmark. And as you can see, here's the hunting bookmark that I just created, right? This shows me exactly what is the query and shows me more information around the entities that were involved, the created time, the updated time, etc. Now, if I go back into the Azure Sentinel hunting tab within bookmarks, actually, let me just get out. Let's see. Refresh. It will pop up under the bookmarks tab. Now, there's many different things that I can do from this visual. I can go ahead and investigate this bookmark. When I investigate that bookmark, this will then navigate me over to the investigation graph, where if I had any entities, I can then do further investigation to better understand the risk and the correlation across those different entities. Essentially, I can also perform some incident actions. Within the incident actions, I can create a new incident, or I can add this to an existing incident, right? So already step number 1, as a threat hunter, we have detected that. Now going back into the out-of-the-box hunting queries. Let me refresh. I then want to look at a summary of any users that have been encoded or that have been added to a group, right? Which is the second step when it comes to the scenario. So let me go ahead and add that in. So I can go ahead and search for it at the query level, or if not, what I can do is that I can navigate to the pages to find that query. Now, for this type of scenario, from there, I can also look at a PowerShell download. So PowerShell downloads is also another of the attack vectors that occurred at within the attack and environment decomposition that we created. So I'm going to add all my tactics back, and that's the reason why I wasn't getting my favorites. Let's see. So here I have a summary of users created using uncommon or undocumented operations. So when I run that query, here I can see that I have four results. I can also view the results, as I mentioned, at the log analytics level. At this level, I can see that there were some process command lines, and I can expand to better understand what occurred at that given point. Here I can see that we added the guest user to the local group, which is administrators. This is another critical way, or another way that a bad actor can, keep persistence within that environment and hopefully avoid detection. Now, this is another out-of-the-box hunting query that you can take advantage of to stay ahead and also have that visibility across your environment. So step number 2 has already been detected as well. I can go ahead and select, and I can also add it as a bookmark to share and annotate and document this evidence from my hunting efforts. Now, C is having the ability to look at the PowerShell downloads. This is another out-of-the-box hunting query that is also part of the hunting tab. When I click on the results, here I can see that there has been some suspicious activity when it comes to PowerShell downloads. Here we see that Julian Go is the entity, and the targeted system is Victim PC. Now, within the process command lines, we are able to understand what exactly was downloaded. Here we can understand that Mimikatz, the credential theft tool, was downloaded on the box, and we also dumped the creds from that box to steal credentials. So that is the third step when it comes to the attack scenario that we developed. Now, so far, 3 things based on that entity give us a sign of intrusion or compromise, right? Now, you're probably asking, what can we do to stay on top of this, right? So within this hunting query, the PowerShell downloads, what I can do is that I can add this to a live stream, right? So when I click on add live stream, what this does is that this will open up a live stream, which will create an interactive session, meaning that if I have any hits of this activity, I will have the ability to be notified. So I will be notified within the bell. So within the notifications of the Azure portal, I will be notified whenever I get a hit for this sort of activity. I can also create an analytic based on this use case. So if I do receive many hits, I can go ahead and elevate that into a analytic role. And then the last one here is a new PowerShell scripts encoded. This is another out-of-the-box hunting query, the results, and then I can go ahead and take action. So here I can better understand what encoder command happened here. And here we can see that the encoder command is a very long phrase here, but the decoder command is hello from the red team, right? So these are different ways that we can take action within the Azure Sentinel hunting tab to be able to annotate, to be able to create interactive user sessions that can allow us to do more. So with that said, I'll give it over to Julian to cover parameterized functions.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Chris. So. I'm hearing an echo. I don't know if.
I was hearing that earlier, but I think it's good now.
All right, thank you, Chris. So let me introduce. There's a new feature. It's currently documented. Not yet. It's documented in the API. It's not yet in the UI though. But what we did is we created a script that's attached to the PowerPoint that you can use, and it creates this parameterized query. So I'll show you what that looks like. So what this does is I can create functions. I'm sorry, I said parameterized queries. It can create functions, and then I can pass it parameters. So this is pretty powerful for threat hunting because I can create. You can imagine all the different types of queries I can create, and then treat those as separate tables. And I'll show you what that looks like. Again, I saved it to the PowerPoint deck, but with this one we take the parameter of the username, and we actually extract out information from these 3 tables. This is just a small sample of what you can do. You can let your imagination kind of run wild with what's possible here. So again, the code for this is in the PowerPoint deck. And next, I'm going to talk to you about notebooks. Now, this is really how you can supercharge your threat hunting. My goal here is just to make you a little bit more comfortable with the notebooks. Sometimes they can be a little intimidating. We are working on new features to make it much easier, much more approachable. The experience I'm showing you now is in private preview. I also have a link in the deck on how to get onboarded onto the private preview program. So I'll start with this getting started guide for Azure Sentinel notebooks. The main advantages of using Azure Sentinel notebooks is this is where you can really accelerate your threat hunting, reduce the dwell time, really make a lot of inroads. The main reason is first you can codify your hunt, so you can replay certain like best practices to hunting over and over. The thing I really love about the notebooks, it allows me to parameterize the hunt. So if I pull some data out of one table, I can then compare, join it, filter it with another table, and so on and so forth. I can also bring in data from external sources through API, very flexible. And I think this is really where the rubber meets the road and really accelerating your hunting capabilities. So I'm going to go to the preview real quick. Getting started guide, really, actually a pretty nice place to start. We'll launch there. So what we do is in the background, we launch the notebook, connect it back to your Log Analytics workspace. The first time you come here, you won't see this. You'll see something that says, hey, you don't have a compute or a notebook server. Very quickly, create one, and that's it. It'll be up and running in a few minutes. I already created one for this, so we don't have to wait. The notebook is nice, has a lot of, the getting started one has a lot of nice little cells here. It congratulates you for adding 2 + 2. But the kind of where it really helps is essentially we have a library, a Python library called Mystic Pi. Simplifies a lot of thread hunting for you. Really recommend you use it, and this notebook kind of really dives into that, what that library can do. But I will show you that there's other ways you could use that library, and I highly recommend it. But of course, you could always kind of roll your own. So what this cell does is it creates a configuration file. A configuration file for this notebook is actually pretty important because it uses virus total and maxmind APIs. So if you want to, like I said earlier, bring in data from external sources, IOCs, etc., you could do that. I've already done it here, so didn't want to bore anybody with that. It does have a way to validate config. Really nice. We're validated. Let me go ahead and log into Log Analytics. I think I had already logged in. I don't see the login screen, so it looks like I'd already logged in. What this does is it brings back all the tables in your, and this is just explaining things. Again, this is getting started, but it shows how you can view, it has a query for all the tables in your Log Analytics workspace. Also queries for all the available queries. Again, using the Mystic Pi library, really handy, has a lot of queries, built-in queries, but you can roll your own. So here we can run this one. Let me try to run that parameterized. I didn't do this earlier, but we have that parameterized query in here. I'm going to go ahead and run that one. So you can see that all the same information that you have in the UI is available through the notebook UX. And what I really love about this is you can parameterize these. So you can actually, this Megan B, I kind of hard coded it here. But you can imagine where I can pull some information from somewhere else and then pass that as a parameter as well. That would be not as straightforward to do in the UI, but very easy to do in the notebooks. I can also clone repositories directly into the notebook experience, and this is where I can kind of show you the kind of terminal feature. So you do have direct terminal access to the underlying notebook server. Go, and here I can do, let's say, just the Jupyter kernel spec. So here I can see all the kernels listed. So I can also do a git clone and then put the URL for my repo here. So that's how I could do a git clone. I had already done that, so I'll do that. I can get details about queries. So Mystic Pi has a lot of built-in queries. I can get details on that. Required parameters for those queries. It does have some test queries, so you can run these test queries using, for example, this one looks at sign-in logs. It also pulls in data, external data for tests. So all these techniques are really good. The intention here is not necessarily, especially for this notebook, not to be like an end-all for thread hunting. It just kind of shows you what you can do, because these cells can be copied and pasted into your own custom notebook. What I'm going to do here is, what this does is it takes a query and then loads into a data frame, a pandas data frame, and then shows you. Pandas data frames are really a key part of all this. So what they do is allows you to take the query results, push them, store them into a data frame, and then you can do also some manipulation, a lot of data science, visualization, etc. on that data frame. I'm going to fast forward it here. You can do enrichment. This one does it with let me see. This one does it with VirusTotal, but of course you can use any of your IOCs. Does some decoding of PowerShell commands, which we showed you earlier. And of course, the big thing is visualizations. So it allows you to do a lot of visualizations that probably exist in the default experience, but allows you to do quite a bit there as well. Before I leave, just to kind of conclude things, the GitHub repo also has a lot of examples on some other things I think will really help. And one of those is kind of to close the loop here on what Christopher was showing earlier. We can add, for example, hunting bookmarks from your notebook. So I'll just do that here. Let me do this. So if you have any findings, if you're hunting, you find something, some notable event, you can bookmark it, and then you can go back and see it in the UI as well, and even use the investigation graph on it. Go back to bookmarks. It looks like I had a. Let me just run it, because I was trying to take a shortcut there and skip a bunch of steps. Maybe I probably needed those, so let me redo that. As you can see, the new UI is super intuitive. I don't know if you've had a chance to use the existing Jupyter UI. It's great, and a lot of people love it. And even if you're really tied to that experience, that is still available to you, even Jupyter Lab. Yeah, I'll just open the Jupyter Lab one. So if you prefer the existing experience, that's always an option for you as well. So here's the same notebook. You can run it in Jupyter Lab. Let's see, make sure this is going. These cells run in line. You can see the performance is a lot better too. You have a dedicated notebook server really helps here. It would have helped for me to add the bookmark. It's a problem with live demos there. All right. I never ran that live bookmark. So we should see that now in the experience. My token has expired. It's because I tried to do this. Just hang on with me for a minute. I know we're almost done. Try to make some shortcuts to make this faster, and end up making life a little harder for myself. this just kind of demonstrates how you'd want to use, how you could set up user input as well with the notebooks. That's really a big key part of a lot of these notebooks is being able to. There we go. We normally would put these in the same cell, but this is just to demonstrate how this all works. So we put it in separate cells. There we go. All right, now let me add it. Apologies for the wait. As I said, I was trying to make things faster and I ended up kind of slowing them down. So let me go back and then I'll close with that. So there's our notebook, our bookmark. We were able to create that. So that can really show us how you can kind of tie all these scenarios together using the notebooks, do your thread hunting there. Of course, we have a lot of UI experiences as well, and they're complementary. You can pivot from one to the other extremely easy. So with that, I'll go ahead and shut this down. And open it up here. Turn it back over to you, Val. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Thank you, Chris. I did submit a link for the folks to hopefully respond on a couple other questions or surveys that we would like to hear from them. And we can see here if we have any unanswered questions, although most of them were answered, but let me see, there were some around. Well, there's one asking, are all the notebook on Python?
Yeah, right now they're on Python. That's a great question. Here, let me open my screen. Just to, let everyone know, we are working on PowerShell support. You'll see it here. It's not quite ready for prime time, but it'll show up as a drop down here, and you can write your PowerShell scripts in the notebook as well. That is on the roadmap. Also, someone asked about the how to view something about the bookmark, and I don't know if we talked about this. These bookmarks are in Log Analytics as well, so you can do the filtering and joining of the bookmarks in Log Analytics with your query. So if you can see, the bookmark created from the notebook is right here, and you can view the details on that. And even the query that I used, and the entities. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Let me check here real quick. Is it possible to trigger alerts from a main Azure tenant in another tenant using Lighthouse without having to use PowerShell to add all the alerts in that tenant?
So is it possible to add it from one, send alerts to one?
From one Azure tenant to another tenant using Lighthouse, yes.
Or different tenant.
Without having to use PowerShell.
I'm not aware of any. I'm not aware of that. How to do that.
Okay. We're at the top of the hour, and just quickly some reminders. Basically, I just wanted to remind folks that we have lined up webinars all the way till end of October, and definitely September month seems to be like a Sentinel month. There's we have 5 webinars, and you can during the September month, and you can view them and sign up for them at the link I shared. That is the aka.ms/security webinars. And in case we missed to answer your question, or if you have additional questions, you can visit us on our Azure Sentinel forum. That's the link for aka.ms/Azure Sentinel community. And I would like to close this webinar by thanking Julian and Christopher for a great presentation. And thank you to the rest of the team who helped answering the questions. And most of all, I want to thank all of you for being a part of our community and for joining us on these webinars. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye.